Duggar family fallout, the civil war within. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. The Duggar family, once known for their united front and shared values, faced its biggest storm yet. What began as whispers of disagreement between siblings soon turned into a full-fledged family civil war, one that would shake the very core of their beliefs, trust, and legacy. The heart of this turmoil was none other than Jinger Duggar Voulo, once the quiet rebel, now the face of public disgrace. Trouble in the Voulo household began with a call at 3:15 a.m. on a muggy Tuesday morning in August. Jeremy Voulo, a former soccer player turned pastor, answered his phone groggily. On the other end was the voice of his lawyer. "Jeremy, they've taken Jinger in." Jeremy shot up from bed, unable to process the words. "Taken? What do you mean she's been arrested, Jeremy?" Serious, within hours, media vans lined the streets outside their Los Angeles home, reporters crowding around, yelling questions through flashing cameras. Why was Jinger arrested? Did she betray her family? Is this connected to the house sale? Jeremy and their two daughters were suddenly thrust into a chaos they never imagined. But what caused Jinger's arrest? The hidden fight. The Duggar children had always been raised under strict guidelines: purity, modesty, obedience, and above all, loyalty to family. But as they grew older, many began to drift apart, choosing their own paths. Jinger, in particular, had raised eyebrows when she moved to LA with Jeremy and started dressing differently, speaking out about her upbringing, and openly questioning her parents' values. Jinger's tell-all memoir Free to Be Me had already stirred tension. In it, she criticized the teachings of Bill Gothard and hinted that the Duggar house was not as peaceful as it seemed. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar were furious but chose to stay silent. Behind closed doors, however, talks of legal action began to emerge. Then came the final blow: Jinger's podcast leak, the audio that changed everything. A secret recording, allegedly leaked by a disgruntled former assistant, spread like wildfire across social media. In it, Jinger is heard discussing questionable financial decisions made by her father Jim Bob Duggar, including alleged misuse of family funds, and how she believed many of her siblings were manipulated into silence. The recording ignited a national firestorm. Authorities began investigating. And then the unimaginable happened. Jinger was arrested on charges of defamation, slander, and violation of a non-disclosure agreement tied to a contract she allegedly signed during the filming of Counting On for the Duggar family. This wasn't just embarrassing. It was war, the betrayal. The betrayal wasn't just felt by Jim Bob and Michelle. Some of Jinger's siblings publicly condemned her, saying she went too far and should have resolved family matters privately. Jessa posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Loyalty matters. Not everything needs to be sold for a book deal." John David commented, "Some battles aren't worth winning if you lose your family in the process." Only Jill Duggar Dillard, who had her own falling out with the family years ago, spoke in support of Jinger. "Truth-telling is not betrayal. It's courage," she tweeted. With the family split down the middle, fans and followers began calling the fight a Duggar civil war. Jeremy's decision as the media pressure mounted and Jinger remained behind bars awaiting her bail hearing. Jeremy Voulo made a shocking decision. He put their house up for sale, listing it for $1.3 million. People speculated. Was it to cover legal fees? Was he planning to flee LA? Or was it simply a desperate move to escape the drama? Insiders claimed Jeremy had grown increasingly frustrated with the Duggar name being a constant source of scrutiny and scandal. He allegedly told a close friend, "I married Jinger, not the entire Duggar empire. I'm protecting my daughters." The decision to sell the house created a ripple effect. Some media outlets reported that Jinger and Jeremy were heading toward divorce, though others denied the rumors' secrets and strategies. Behind the scenes, the Duggar parents hired a high-profile legal team to ensure Jinger's voice was silenced. They were rumored to be pushing for a gag order and even considered taking custody of her children if she was convicted. Jeremy, furious, went on a quiet but powerful media campaign. He arranged interviews, met with journalists, and released never-before-seen footage of his wife's early struggles with mental health, anxiety, and fear under the family's shadow. Public sympathy began to sway in Jinger's favor. Hashtags like #FreeJinger, #DuggarTruth, and #LetHerSpeak began trending on X, formerly Twitter. The bail hearing. On a humid Wednesday afternoon, fans and critics alike tuned into the live stream of Jinger's bail hearing. Dressed in a plain gray dress and with her hair tied back, Jinger stood quietly, hands folded, as her attorney made her case. We are not just talking about a woman expressing her truth, we are talking about a victim of an oppressive system trying to protect others. The judge granted conditional bail and Jinger walked out to a crowd of supporters. She broke her silence at a press conference shortly after. I did not betray my family. I love them enough to tell the truth even when it hurt Jim Bob's revenge. The arrest and release of Jinger only fueled Jim Bob's fury. In a dramatic family meeting held in Tontatown, Arkansas, he declared that anyone who supported Jinger would be cut off financially and disowned. Jill, Derek, and even Joanna stood by Jinger. Josh Duggar, despite his own legal issues, bizarrely appeared in a remote video chat from prison, stating Jinger was the real disgrace. That moment went viral and was widely mocked. The internal emails and texts among the siblings revealed the depth of the rift. Some begged for peace. Others drew hard lines. A new chapter begins. Jeremy sold the house. The Voulos quietly moved into a smaller, more private home outside the city. Jinger began working with a trauma recovery organization, using her voice to help others from similar backgrounds. The Duggar empire, once held together by shared values and media deals, now stood fractured. TLC canceled all reruns of the family's shows, stating it no longer wished to profit from such conflict. A documentary is reportedly in development with Jinger, Jill, and even Amy Duggar King collaborating. Vlog the aftermath. Jinger's arrest turned out to be a turning point, not an end. Though the charges were later dropped due to lack of evidence and violations of her freedom of speech, the damage was done. She remained estranged from half of her family. Jim, Bob, and Michelle remained in Arkansas, rarely seen in public. The once bustling Duggar home became eerily quiet, but for Jinger, a new voice had emerged, one not defined by obedience but by bravery. She ended a podcast episode with these words: "Sometimes standing alone is the only way to find who you really are. I may have lost a family, but I gained freedom." Big cheat. Jessa Chandler's secret marriage to her new boyfriend Ben Seawald left a lone Duggar family in shock. Calm before the storm. 4 years, Jessa Chandler, formerly Jessa Duggar, had been the golden girl of the Duggar family. Known for her quiet charm, beauty, and devotion to family values, she married Ben Seawald in a ceremony that was watched by millions of fans on TV. Together, they had 4 children and presented a picture of harmony and Christian family life. But behind the Instagram posts and Christian YouTube channels, not everything was as perfect as it seemed. Ben had always been the soft-spoken, supportive husband. He stood behind Jessa as she launched her blog, helped film her vlogs, and raised their growing family. But those closest to them began noticing cracks. Whispers started in 2024, but no one could have predicted the bombshell that dropped in the summer of 2025. The whispered name Jordan Reese. In early 2025, a man named Jordan Reese began appearing in Jessa's orbit. He was a Christian motivational speaker who had recently moved to Arkansas from California. Charismatic, ambitious, and well-spoken, Jordan was everything Ben wasn't: outspoken, flashy, and driven to make a name for himself. He and Jessa first crossed paths at a Christian influencer conference in Nashville. Jordan spoke on stage, and Jessa was one of the panelists discussing family life in the digital age. According to eyewitnesses, their chemistry was immediate and electric. What began as casual professional conversations soon turned into long text threads, late-night calls, and Zoom Bible study sessions. Just the two of them, the emotional affair. By March 2025, Jessa's closest friends noticed a shift in her behavior. She was dressing a little differently, smiling more, and seemed distracted. Her once daily posts with Ben and the kids became less frequent. Instead, she began sharing cryptic quotes. "God is leading me into a new season. Not everyone will understand. But obedience is greater than approval." March 2025. Behind closed doors, Jessa and Ben were barely speaking. Sources close to the family revealed that Ben had confronted her about Jordan, suspecting something was wrong. Jessa denied any physical affair but admitted to having a strong emotional connection. Ben was devastated. The secret separation. In April 2025, Jessa quietly moved out of their home under the guise of needing space to think. She took the kids and stayed with her cousin for several weeks. Public was told she was on a retreat for creative reflection, but in reality, she was spending time with Jordan Reese, now a regular presence in her life. Ben, blindsided and heartbroken, withdrew from social media. His once frequent biblical reflections and family photos stopped entirely. Friends say he was a broken man leaning heavily on his faith and community for support. Jessa, meanwhile, made no formal announcement. But eagle-eyed fans began spotting subtle clues. Jordan's voice in the background of her videos, a man's reflection in her sunglasses, and even matching quotes on both their profiles. The Duggar family remained silent, but behind the scenes they were furious, the shock of a lifetime. Secret marriage. On July 5, 2025, news broke that stunned the entire Duggar fanbase. Jessa Chandler has quietly married Jordan Reese in a private ceremony in Utah. The report came from a small Christian tabloid, but it was soon confirmed by a leaked marriage license. It was real. The marriage was allegedly conducted without the presence of any of her family members, not even her parents, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. The only people present were a few of Jordan's friends and an officiant from a non-denominational Christian network. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Duggar fallout. Jim Bob Duggar, known for keeping tight control over his children's public lives, was enraged. Sources say he called Jessa and demanded answers. She reportedly told him, "I'm not your little girl anymore. I made my choice. I followed God's leading, even if it hurt." The Duggar parents released a vague statement on their blog. "We are praying for our daughter during this unexpected season. We believe in the restoration of families through grace and truth. Our hearts are heavy, but we trust in God's plan." But insiders claim the family is deeply divided. Jill Duggar reportedly supported Jessa, having had her own fallout with the family years earlier. Jinger remained silent, while Jana was said to be in tears. Ben Seawald, now officially separated, refused to speak to the press. A source close to him said, "Ben is heartbroken. He still loves Jessa, but he doesn't recognize her anymore." A new life for Jessa and Jordan. Jessa changed her name on social media to Jessa Reese. She and Jordan launched a joint podcast called Faith and Fire, focused on bold Christianity in a modern world. They spoke openly about how God had redeemed their relationship and how they believed their union was divinely orchestrated. "Sometimes God calls us out of familiar comfort zones," Jordan said on episode 2. "We don't need public approval, we need divine purpose." Fans were divided. Some accused Jessa of hypocrisy, betrayal, and abandoning her vows. Others praised her for following her heart and stepping into her calling. Ben's healing journey. Ben, meanwhile, took a different path. He moved to Tennessee with the children and began working at a Christian counseling center. He posted a heartfelt video in June titled "When Your World Falls Apart," where he shared without naming names, "Sometimes the person you love the most changes. Sometimes they walk away. But God never does." Support poured in from fans, church leaders, and even some Duggar family members. He became a quiet symbol of dignity, healing, and perseverance. Many began calling for Ben Seawald to write a book or start a ministry focused on men recovering from heartbreak. The internet reacts. Reddit, YouTube, and TikTok exploded with commentary. Hashtags like #TeamBen, #JessaBetrayal, and #DuggarScandal 2025 trended for weeks. Some of the most viral takes included, "Jessa Duggar's new husband gives major narcissist vibes. Ben Seawald deserves better. Jessa Reese girl, what are you doing?" Even former Duggar critics were split. Some praised her rebellion from what they saw as toxic family control. Others said she simply traded one type of dysfunction for another. The uncertain future. Now, as the dust begins to settle, no one knows what the future holds for Jessa, Ben, or the Duggar family as a whole. Jessa and Jordan are continuing their content creation journey despite a rapidly declining follower count. Rumors suggest their podcast is losing sponsors and their marriage may already be strained by public backlash.